when we organize an event, we want to have a mix of people from the industry. If you have been in an IATA event, you see people mainly from the airlines industry. When you go to ACI, you see mainly people from the airport side. And then if you move to ICAO, it's the same sort of government. Then always the concept is to have a mix. Then I'm really pleased to, but we need to have the right people. Those are really, is not, they have the name, I mean, as an organization, but they really can do a good interaction. And today we have a mix of government, we have a mix of airline, we have a mix from, coming from the university. And of course, always this event is an interactive event and is a discussion, there is no presentation, therefore you can intervene and ask questions or contribute to this discussion. Therefore, also David here as we present the airports, I think we had great information about, fruitful thought about the infrastructure and development of Romanian development of traffic over the till now and over the 2040. Then please feel free to jump in and have really a fruitful discussion. It's not just to spend time, but to really something positive will come out of this discussion. Then I will ask the first question, and we're talking about regional development infrastructure challenges. Then what are the main challenges in the regional development? Because we're talking about challenges in global, but regional is a little bit, as I said in my opening remarks, is a little bit different situation based on the fact that they are not hubs, but also that they are quite critical, probably more vital to the survival of the community. Therefore, what are the challenges? And I ask first Catalin.
Thank you. Thank you, Kostas, and thank you once again for the invitation here. Well, in terms of challenges, we all know the main elements that makes connectivity and especially regional connectivity a success story. You need to have the proper liberalized framework within the country, the right regulation. You need the proper infrastructure, and of course you need in terms of money, cost, and tariffs to have the right, let's say, setup in place. For example, in our part of the world, in Central Asia, you see developing different trends. Different countries have different speeds of development, not necessarily sometimes for the liberalized context, but sometimes for the very low tariffs that they practice for fuel or for landing fees. Sometimes you see indeed access to the right type of infrastructure with the right warehouses for cargo and everything like that. While in the other context, you can see that liberalization is extremely important, and sometimes this plays an essential role, especially for passengers' rights. So for us, keep in mind that Kazakhstan is coming from the Soviet bloc, and they used to have old infrastructure, 30 years old. So together with the government, they started a program to invest in critical infrastructure, safety, security, to make sure that they prepare the future growth of aviation. Right now it's a huge growth in that part of the world, one of the biggest in the world, in fact, with more than 20-25% growth per year compared with 2019. And right now we have only in Kazakhstan, for example, 64% increase compared with 2019, which is a huge number. So we really need to be prepared. And of course, as a regulator, we always need to think of the two things, the economic thing, the link. You prefer open sky, or if you are a big country and you prefer to develop your own carrier, you need to invest in this and to become a global player. And secondly, the regulatory framework that will allow the proper level of safety and security to make sure that everyone will be able to come and to join a safe environment in your country. So practically those are the main challenges that need to be addressed, and you need a political will, but also the right resources to be invested.
Before I ask Costin and Onur the same question, I think if I'm not mistaken, when Almaty had a new airport terminal, then there was a constraint in the infrastructure. Then this now it's not anymore issue. Then and it was during your era that make the change?
Well, they had a 2.5 design terminal that accommodated last year 7.8, so it was a real challenge, but right now they opened in May the new terminal, accommodating 10 million, but it's already too short in terms of capacity. So it's a never-ending story, and especially in the countries with high level of traffic rates. So you really need to prepare for the future and to have the right element in place. Sometimes you have challenges like the surrounding of the airport. You cannot physically develop, so you need to find the perfect alternative for that. Also, we had some challenges in terms of, for example, simple fact like illegal construction around the airport, okay? And I think it was 6 days to close down Mati Airport because of what happened around. At the end, the government intervened and cleaned the situation, but as a regulator, as a safety guy, you need to take the sometimes strong and unpopular measures to make things happen, to let aviation develop, but you need to plan in advance, especially for the infrastructure.
Costin, from the airlines perspective, and then I will ask you the same question, what are the main challenges in the regional development? You have the ATR operating around. I was today in Bucharest, and I saw the ATR arriving from different regional airports, and it was
coming ahead opinion, and we are operating now in Romania based on open sky perspective, and we are seeing the regional development of regional connectivity. It's something that needs to be supported, and we are a national carrier. Our main objective is to find solution to support the regional connectivity. People in the future will develop and will look to idea to connect fast between the cities, and still our infrastructure in Romania is not allowing a fast connectivity. We discussed earlier some questions about the trains. In Romania, it's very difficult to achieve one point to another based on the train. The timing is long. So airlines, it's something that has to be developed. We as an airline, we need to find a way to stimulate the demand and to find the proper time and the proper moment how to connect the people. And this is how we want to build our ATR fleet. This is the reason why in our restructuring plan we keep the mono fleet of jets, but we have today 6 ATRs. We plan to have 4 ATRs completely new, meaning 4 years aircraft, it's a new aircraft. We have 2 ATRs old, but we expect also this to be subject of a future change probably. We don't know if in the first 2 years or after, but they have to be changed to new ATRs. And there are still a lot of things to do in this regional part with the ATRs. And this is how we are seeing with the ATR or something smaller, bigger, that's something we discussed. But this is how we are seeing. We need to find solution to connect better the people in Romania from different airports.
Onur, from your side, from operating in Europe, not only, also in Asia, and with the regional airports, domestic airports, also in Turkey, competing with other low-cost and major national carriers, Turkey, and how?
When we operate in 35 airports in Turkey, and many of these airports are obviously regional airports. And we face several challenges across this wide, big geography, in addition to the airports that we operate abroad. I think in addition to what my colleagues talked about, I will also touch on the importance of growing the whole tourism ecosystem to grow the regional airports, to make smaller airports bigger, one day serving a bigger catchment area. I think the catchment area connection plays a very important role in that sense. You need to be able to distribute people, locate people once they are at the airport, and the hotel ecosystem plays a very important role as well in terms of growing the regional airport ecosystem. And I think one of the difficult things is with the infrastructure, because as the technology is advancing, travelers are getting used to more convenient ways of traveling, which they can find in bigger, more centralized airports, like self-service, immediate luggage drop-off services, or immediate passport controls, and all of this, and you can easily actually drop your luggage and pass through passport control with a self-service system within 5-10 minutes, if you don't have to get into a queue. And that's not always possible to do this in the regional airports. So many times this might be a barrier for people to travel to regional airports. A lot of people can say, well, instead of taking the burden of traveling in an inconvenient way, I'll jump in my car and just drive 3-4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is, because that also has certain advantages, conveniences coming with it. So I think one of the critical things is to leveling up that technology ecosystem across the regional airports, along with the more bigger central hub airports.
Petro, coming from the university part of the air transport industry and transport in general and research, then what is your opinion regarding this topic?
I want to thank you for inviting me in this discussion. I want to take a helicopter view and to look at the regional airports from the numbers in green lines. The 50% of the air connectivity in the European continent is created by the regional airports, the peripheral airports. And almost the half of the population of travelers moving in Europe is facilitated by a regional airport. So we have something very interesting in Europe, the fact that we can send people to the remote areas because we have this possibility of collaborating. Airports that act as hubs and airports that act as nodes, peripheral nodes. And from this collaboration, we have all this density of the air transport landscape we observe here. So regional airports are important for many reasons: economic, social, European cohesion, and others. They are peripheral, and any peripheral node in any system suffers from several issues compared with the central nodes, but there are also advantages when you are peripheral. Challenges. Challenge number one is the fact that the peripheral airports have now to deal with high rates of growth, sometimes 2-digit rates of growth. So this is new for a peripheral airport. It is not. There is no tradition, there is no history, there is no experience. So first challenge. Second challenge. Peripheral airports suffer from the seasonality of the traffic. Very uneven distribution between the peaks and the valleys. Does it happen in the central airports too? Yes, it happens. It happens not so much at the seasonal level, but it happens. There is a big difference. The large airports benefit from economies of scale. There are not economies of scale in the regional airports. Please note. Challenge number 3. The solutions to handle all these problems, we all know. It's the acceleration of the efficiency in handling the customer, the passenger, when the passenger is in there. It is very important to gain in terms of efficiency and speed when processing the travelers at the airports. But all these solutions we know right now, they are really investment. They require heavy investments. They are technology solutions, biometrics. We all talk about biometrics, but biometrics is a heavy investment. It's not an easy investment. It is difficult to start, it's difficult to maintain. So we understand that we have a specific situation in the regional airports. These are the challenges, these are the problems, and we have to find the right solutions, the solutions that do not require a lot of investments. Innovation is always a possibility to compete, a possibility to become more efficient, and possibility to face the non-scale possibility, which gives the large airport many benefits.
Thank you. I go back to the two airline represented here, and you have your work to study every potential route. Then when you end up about regional airports, and they have an issue with capacity, how the capacity of an airport can affect your decision to operate. And there is a lack of capacity, or not really easy available slots, and at the same time there is competition and might be a lucrative route or whatever. Then how is your decision to choose and to at the same time have regional operation?
I think I'm not going to tell something new. I will talk about a very obvious thing to many of us, but really the main challenges, especially with the regional airports from airline point of view, the traffic happens during 3-4 months of the year. Everybody wants to travel, all airlines want to fly during those 3-4 months of the year. The hotels are all full during those 3-4 months of the year. From airline point of view, we have to invest at least for 9 months of the year. We cannot survive with 3-4 months of business. Otherwise, we cannot grow. We have to fly our aircrafts during these 3-4 months and ground them, 50% of them, during the rest of the year if we do so. So we have to evaluate every route, every destination from a 12-year contribution point of view. And of course, there is always seasonality. Tourism is very, seasonal business. We all know that. But rest of the year should be, to some extent, immune to seasonality. Now, with regional airports, the seasonality is a reality for the whole sector, but that's more of the case for the regional airports, because you don't have much business travel most of the time for many regional airports. And you don't have the traffic coming from connecting traffic, because airlines do not usually use the regional airports for a network traffic, but more for a point-to-point traffic. So unless the airline can combine different sources of traffic, different profiles of passengers throughout the year, and evenly distribute the traffic across the year, it's quite difficult for the airline. But we all fly to many regional airports. We all rely on the 3-4 months of good business. Take the burden of losing money for the rest of the year. We do that, but it's the reality, and it's one of the biggest growths in front of growing for the airlines.
Costin, TAROM perspective.
Can I have a question?
Yeah. So first we have a response from Costin about the same, and then
I would like to ask, is Pegasus competing with Wizz Air?
Yeah, well, very minor competition. We cannot say Wizz Air is really a major competitor for us. In what sense?
For certain European destination, probably. If that is competition for certain European destinations.
Our main competitors are the Turkish carriers. We fly head to head on probably 98-99%. We don't even count because it might even be like 100% of our routes. Turkish Airlines flies, and then on about 60% of our international network, the sub-brand or sub-company of Turkish Airlines, Aegean, flies. And then we intersect with Sun Express on around 30% of our routes. So we are facing very tough competition. We do fly with Wizz Air, EasyJet, and Ryanair on a few routes, but just really a few routes. I mean, Wizz Air is not really a direct competitor for us. Turkish Airlines is.
Thank you.
From a hub and spoke operator, how it is, the regional airports has the problem, like also my colleague said, it's the fact that some of the seasonal, it's affecting the period when the airport is busy and the period when the airport is not busy. In the same time, it's also an advantage for us as a carrier because we can build our network and schedule in a different way because there is not so high density. Giving an example, we are not able to change too much on the routes and the hours on the Istanbul airport because the flexibility is not so much compared with changing the hour of coming or hour of going, even on a period or seasonal or monthly on an airports like in a regional airport. So we have flexibility from the airline perspective that give us a better utilization of the fleet in this perspective. But at the same time, we are looking also to use the regional airports in order to find the way how the people needs to connect, because we have to look to the customers. And it's not like we want to come in the middle of the day and we don't see traffic in the regional airports because all the people wants to come in the morning and wants to come in the evening. And then we have a problem of who's supporting the cost if you're using a fleet that it's able to come just in the morning or just in the evening to cover better the connectivity in the region. This is a problem that we as an airline have it like a challenge, and we find a solution how to optimize or how to build the best connection for the people in order to serve the people in the region part. This, I see it from this perspective. Other things that probably the regional airports can do better, it was discussed, and it's also helped in the profile of the customer. It's how the additional services between in the airport are covering the customer need, meaning, I don't know, we are talking now about car rentals, parking, access to train or other things that increase the capacity of the airport to bring people from 1-2 hours distance to the regional airport.
Thanks, Costin. Going back to Petros, I would like to, you referred about the requirement of investment, but you said at the same time the solution have to be not really a huge investment. You refer about biometrics and so on. Can you a little bit elaborate about your thoughts?
I can. I think that the right strategy to adopt in these cases is the digital transformation. The digital transformation is the adoption of the digital technologies and selectively decide the areas where the regional airports should invest in the digital transformation. And the major areas are those related to the service of the customers. That means know your passenger before the passenger comes to the airport, and then serve the needs of the passenger, specifically as far as the processing of the travel document is regarded. These two things are very important. Know the passenger, know when the passenger will come, eventually plan the arrival of the passenger, and then quickly, fast processing the documents. These are winning strategies. It's easier to implement in the regional airports than in the global airports for many reasons. And I believe if the regional airports play this strategy, eventually they can compete with the larger airports and attract more airlines because they will provide better and faster service of the passenger.
Catalin, going back about infrastructure challenge and building a new infrastructure and so on, then coming from not only being now an ATG in administration of Kazakhstan, but also your experience with in aviation, how this project can be financed? Because sometimes the government they are not willingness to contribute, and it's we have the experience of the European country, we have the experience of and country in the middle of Asia, and of course you're present in IQ. Therefore, how's this project can be financed?
There are always solutions for a rich country like Kazakhstan that have enough money to pay for the infrastructure and to invest in infrastructure. Keep in mind that our country is the ninth widest country in the world, with cities at more than 1,000 kilometers one of each other. And it's really a challenge to go by road or by train to really connect people and businesses. So the government will invest in infrastructure, and they take it like a public obligation. Practically, you subsidize the infrastructure, because at the end, you as a government, you have to serve your citizen and to make sure that they are the final winners in this, and they really need to be well served. In terms of liberalization of the market, also it helps, because businesses that are coming also increase the quality of the product, decrease the prices, and automatically bring more money in the business, and automatically you have, as a private owner or local authority, more money to invest or to invest in the aviation. Of course, Europe is different, because we have this common system, open sky, and practically the competition is very harsh. You cannot invest in or subsidize any carrier or any airport. We had discussion for years with the European Commission to allow us to finance the regional airports that are essential for the connectivity of the people. However, we have a success story of Cluj, where they succeeded to bring money from the European funds to subsidize, to invest in the infrastructure. And here you have one of the most seasoned professional in aviation, not only 20 years as running this airport, taking, as you said, from 30,000 to 3 million. But also he was member and still is active at the European level, in ACR Europe, but also the ACR world level. So he knows everything by heart, and successfully proved that we can make it even in the European context, where, as I said, we've had our own challenges. I remember going to the European Commission and fighting with them how, if we can finance or no from the local budget, from the state budget, when you are little and you need to serve your citizen. So there are challenges, but different models to attract. There are big investors that are coming and are ready to put money on the table when they see the development and the potential growth of the country. Onur said something that it's important. Tourism should be linked with this. For example, in Kazakhstan we have a fantastic diversity of places, and from the sea, desert, up to mountain, 7,300 high, and all kind of beauties that are there should be properly treated. And we are working, for example, with the Kazakh tourism, the agency in charge with the tourists, to develop our product together. The President just recently instructed the government to allocate money from the public budget to build or to refurbish the airport next to highly touristical sites. So practically there is a model that can be used, but depends on the country, the context, and the whole, possibility to invest. But there are sources of financement that can be used. You just need to be open, smart, and to go in this direction. Another thing that I think is important, and I hear our colleague from the academia, professor, saying you need more efficient services. And I was thinking maybe we can explore a little bit more. I had some discussion with one of our colleagues here, Vice President Balkan for one of the ground handlers. And we were talking, and I ended up hearing disruptive idea about the future of aviation, not following the right model that we all know, but for example, having the last 8 passengers in an aircraft coming and helping loading the luggages for the rest of them, if you give them different. So we need disruptors in the industry that at the end will end up bringing added value and different business models. Who would have thought that we have drones or the proliferation of all these unmanned systems so fast, so quick, and right now we see them everywhere, and it's a reality, flying taxis. So it will come, and this is important to have in mind when you think of infrastructure and all the challenges that we have.
How is the traffic between Kazakhstan and Russia?
It's still one of the biggest that we have, because keep in mind 30% more than 30% of the population it's from there. They have their family. We have the biggest commercial area, and also keep in mind we are part of Eurasian Economic Union. That means that there are no boundaries in terms of flow of traffic and persons, flow of goods and persons. However, the main, let's say, connectivity by air, it's with the main hubs that we have right now for Europe, it's Frankfurt and Istanbul. Istanbul both with Pegasus and Turkish Airlines. It's huge. In fact, I think it's the biggest destination that we have. But a lot also with the Gulf carriers, with Gulf countries, and touristic destination in Asia that are mostly used as destination because of the, it's not prohibited because of the visa. You don't have problem with the visa. For the European Union, you have to have a visa, Schengen visa, which practically it's really burdening for the Kazakh citizens. But coming back, as I said, the conflict in Ukraine brought us also a lot of traffic and a lot of money in the aviation environment in Kazakh Navigatia, was the NSP. This money right now, extra money, are used to finance also infrastructure. So because we really believe in aviation money used for aviation, so the money that came from aviation to be reinvested in aviation. But yes, it's a big commercial and person traffic between Russia and Kazakhstan. We have the biggest border. In fact, I think it's bigger than Canada, which is traditionally the biggest border in the world. But it's our biggest border, and automatically we have this geopolitical restriction. However, the carriers from Russia, they are not flying at the level that they used to fly because of the different aspects related to the ban that they have in terms of using these Western-built aircraft.
David, going back to you, because you just finished this infrastructure development of the airport, then we have also other director of airport. Then, what is your, let's say, outcome of this exercise with, because you said earlier in your presentation, they were talking in the newspaper that it was an airport with a terminal for birds or whatever, then it was full, then you made the right mix to get where it has to be. Then what is your advice or recommendation for the others to follow? If you want to share, of course, your thoughts about, because you need to find a way how to finance this, with the help, of course, of the European Union, but at the same time, to manage to be a successful case study that is right now. We see the picture, the amazing new terminal building right now.
It's important to prepare the future and to build to to estimate correctly and to build big. It was very important for our airport and to follow your dream.
It was easy, it was challenging. You know, forget we were facing difficult times in the last years.
It was very challenging because at the time we were not a profitable airport. The government and the county, the region invested in us, but also we increased our revenues. We negotiated with airlines. It was very difficult to attract airlines, and the 1 million example, it is the same also with airports. It's more difficult until you reach 1 million passengers. After this, it is easier. And I will give you an example with Timisoara airport. Our friend from Timisoara is here. Timisoara had higher traffic than Cluj. They were with Carpathia, they had also connecting traffic. They had more than 1 million. We had around 500,000, and new airlines entered that, and the potential was here. So it was very difficult, and we started to address CEO, Chief Commercial Officer, because they have a higher perspective of the traffic. Sometimes middle management, they are afraid, so they do not want to make mistakes. CEOs, Chief Commercial Officers, they are ready to make bigger decisions, and that's why I analyzed what happens, why they entered in Timisoara and not in Cluj. Probably middle management, they consider Timisoara, they have more than 1 million. It's less risk and than to enter in an airport with 500,000. So it was very difficult until 1 million passengers and to attract new airlines.
Glenn, as we're talking about cargo, and you know, we don't have here in the panel someone to represent the cargo sector, but then making a comparison between the passenger and the cargo traffic, there are more infrastructure challenges for the cargo segment or more in the passenger? Because you have your huge experience also be part of IATA, and they were dealing with both.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would say that the air cargo industry was focused primarily on the major hub in the market, because that was closer to the points of production, and it was talking about big consignments, 10-ton shipments. But with e-commerce now, it's completely different. Now it's how close can it get to somebody's hands? And that's where I think the regional airports have a very, very much new role, potential new role, to link in domestically within Europe, for example. A few years ago, there were no freighters. Now, Lufthansa, I think, has 3 or 4 A321 converted freighters. There's a few more coming up because there's now a need for a domestic European freighter network, even quicker than the roads. So I think regional airports have a role. The infrastructure, again, e-commerce, particularly if it's traveling within Europe, you don't need complex border controls, you don't need facilities, they're not going to be specialized, they just want to come in and go out. So I think that is where regional airports have a very, very great opportunity going forward. Whilst I have the mic, can I ask a question?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, with an ex-passenger hat. I did work in the passenger industry for 1 year, so I know a teeny tiny bit. Couple of numbers, I like numbers. Dr. Petros was saying 50% of the intra-European traffic, if I heard you correctly, goes through regional airports.
Facilitated by regional airports.
Right, that's fascinating, and I'm going to link it with something that David said, which was of the Romanian airports, and you pointed this out, 84% of that is by foreign carriers. So whilst it's incredibly important to move the people, and it's maybe a question to TAROM, why is it not so attractive for national carriers to be at the hubs as much, the regional airports as much as the major hubs? And I'm talking generically, if so much traffic is facilitated through those airports, but so much of it is in the hands of the foreign carriers.
For TAROM, particularly the regional development was not on the radar in the right approach, and this is the challenge that we have to build in our restructuring program. We have a mixed fleet of today, like I told, jet and the ATR. So the approach is to cover the regional and to build the demand. How to build the demand? This is the questions that the challenge for TAROM is how to build a local demand or a local demand for the passengers, and how to have the right solution or the right price for the passenger and the right. It's a combination of factors. The passengers is not looking today just what is the price, are looking to the hours, the possibility, to the connectivity, to the best solution, and things. This mix of products, marketing, and everything has to be found out. I think there is potential of the connectivity in the local developing the countries. Discussing also about the cargo, it's also linked with how the e-commerce will develop, because the e-commerce market also in Romania become more and more people will look to have fast products, and regional airports has to be served in a way also from this perspective. But these are strategic questions that TAROM has to have in mind for the next 2-3 years in front of it.
Thank you, Costin. And I think you should take into account also the fact that when we say foreign carriers, they are foreign for Romania, but they are domestically European. So practically this changed the picture and the statistics, how to play with the statistics. But indeed, the European context is totally different than any other one at the global level. And the fact that you have this kind of numbers, in fact, shows that the market it's free in Europe, and you have this kind of elements that brings a little bit of diversity, but also bring the beauty of flying point to points. Everyone wants to fly point to point right now, and in Europe it's a great opportunity for doing this. And I would love to see soon TAROM flying from I don't know, Malaga to Paris, or addressing the rights that we have in European market as an European citizen, as an European carrier, because we have this. But anyway, it's a context that we are playing here, and that's why you have this kind of elements, and the wish and the willingness of the people to fly direct flights. So we prefer to drive a little bit more and to have access to a direct flight than to go to the classic hub airport and have another connection.
Returning to the previous question that I said about how a project can be financed. Many times when an airport decides to have an expansion and so on, then there is many times you see IATA complaining that the airport increased the charges. That, in certain extent, makes sense. And there is also this case, for example, of Munich Terminal 2 terminal that both the airport and Lufthansa work together and, let's say, they share the cost and the revenue. Then, how an airline can contribute, and not necessarily, always about finance, but paying the bill, but how can contribute when we speak about a project that needs to be financed, how they can really be part of it. And again, not necessarily about paying the bill. And I'm asking the two airline representatives to tell what they think, and I don't know if the other two members are
If you want to buy some airport,
on the European rules, I think it's different. But my colleague from Turkey to answer. But an airline, it has to be linked with an airport, and it's increase the capacity of the value of the airport if an airline can be linked with an airport. How this can be done, or how Lufthansa done it with Munich, it's a business case, so it's an interesting approach. We need to understand, and we need also to develop, and it's also related to the level of the development of the country, the idea to have alternative financing methods, not compared to the traditional one between the state financing or public money to financing, There are alternatives to financing via private money, and this is the way how probably in Europe the airlines can combine together with the airports. But this is it's a period of development. Looking to David here and how he developed the Cluj airport. At 3 million, probably at 6 million, this airport in Cluj can become a completely independent airport, financed by the local people in the region, and not to be anymore financed by the public sector. So in this way, you can develop an airline together with the airport in the future. So there are alternatives to financing in Europe from this perspective.
Onur, your opinion?
Interesting and difficult question. I mean, I will tell my personal view on this. I think running airlines and running airports, although very connected to each other, they're two different businesses. Infrastructure is different, challenges are different, and there's a, naturally there is significant conflict of interest actually also in an airline, contributing or being a stakeholder in an airport might not be the best thing for the airport because all airports need competition, more airlines flying into that airport. So I think the best way is again for the airline and the airports to partner together for the airline to provide as detailed, as accurate as possible about their future plans, because that's very critical for the airports to make the right investment decisions into the future, and to work together in terms of building the infrastructure, almost to have like a combined IT teams, combined customer experience teams. This might sound like an easy thing to do, but most of the time it doesn't happen. There are many airlines actually contributing to 50% of the airport's traffic, but there is no really synergy between the airline and the airport. We in the past saw major, very positive outcomes of, for instance, working very closely with Sabiha Gökçen. Before the pandemic, we started a routine like our customer experience team and Sabiha Gökçen customer experience team coming together every month to go through the problems of the customers and brainstorm the idea solutions about how we can improve the experience of the customers. Yeah, I would say this is more of a at least realistic way of integrating between airlines and airports.
Okay, interesting. Costin, going to something that has happened recently, we discussed a little bit today. It's about Romania entering in the Schengen area. When this had a huge impact of the operation. I mean, I saw it also today in Otopeni. Then, how this impacted your regional development, your regional operation, having now there's no passport control, and it did have any impact, positive, negative, neutral?
I see it like a positive impact, mainly for us as an airline. It's a very positive impact. We are a European regional carrier. 80% of our routes are in the European Union, so there is a lot of positive impact from the perspective. Removing the pass control is very important. Also, our connectivity is improved. So now it's just for us the problem to build it, but for us it's a very good customer experience for everything.
Do you see an increase in numbers? Do you have any figure? It's a little bit soon to.
It's It's not too much to see, but the customer experience is obvious, significant improvement.
Yeah, well, I saw it from firsthand.
This is important in this perspective, and our connected flight is more attractive from this perspective. Obviously, I personally can tell that on our base, meaning in Autopan, still there are a lot of things to do in terms of improving the connectivity, and something that we highlight. The airport has to improve now the way how they develop the connectivity between the non-Schengen and Schengen area. That's still ways to improve.
David, that's you know you opened the new terminal, and now it came the right time, as I said in my opening remarks. And how you saw this the entering Romanian Aegean. Do you see any? What was let's say the passenger experience, as Costin said, and if you saw that was something that let's say the airport might be, or Romanian, because also being president of Romanian Airport Association, if you see any positive impact that you don't need to do the passport control and so on, it will make this easier for the passenger.
Yes, it's a big impact, positive impact, because it is more easier to travel. Also, we are happy that passengers spend more time in commercial area. They have more time. The experience of the passengers improved a lot, and as I said, we expect a slight increase, because their perception, foreigner passengers, their perception it is like a domestic flight. So it is more easy, and we expect passengers to the number of passengers to increase.
Is there any question from the audience before I move to the next question? Yeah, Christian.
I have one question for Onur. Is Pegasus the biggest carrier in Sabiha-Bucci?
Yes.
As far as you know, is Turkish Airlines the biggest carrier in Iga Airport, Istanbul?
Yes.
So there is a big link between the development of the airport and the main carrier. It always been like that.
Yes.
If the airline is growing, the airport will grow. And here, the biggest carrier is Wizz Air Romania, 50% of the market. It's a European carrier. Yeah, I hope TAROM will catch up rather fast.
It's a statement, not a question.
Yes.
Then let's go back to my good friend from the authorities. Then, how the authorities can help the regional development? And again, don't see only the Kazakh perspective, but as a wise person in this global business.
I think it's more linked with the economic development of the country and of the region, the link with the region. You have to see, as a regulator, first of all, absolutely safety and security to make sure that you're at the right level. But when it comes to connectivity, you have to look into the economics, and because of that, you have to see the level of liberalization. For my citizen, as I said, I want the best product at the cheapest prices. Okay, and this is the example of European Union, where you have fantastic opportunities to travel every weekend wherever you want at a very nice price and with excellent product. On the other hand, you have the example of Turkey that I wish to apply to be applicable to Kazakhstan, where you have global airlines. Practically, you don't need too much liberalization, because you have the main players that are local, and they really fulfill the need of the country for connectivity, especially with the local carriers. And you have a global carrier that it's feeding the hub, and you can exist like that, and you see it in many other places. I would love to see Air Astana buying tomorrow 300 aircraft and became a global player, while in the same time I would love to have Kazakhstan fully liberalized and bringing connectivity and the best product for my citizen. So as a regulator, as we always do, we start with safety, security, and of course sustainability, but the economic leverage is very important in terms of increasing and boosting the connectivity access to the market.
Before I go back to your line, I'd like Petros about the same question. What do you think? Government authorities,
If the
from,
authorities,
as an outsider,
if the authorities, the governments are the European countries, member states, and the Commission, I can say that they do everything that is needed in order to digitize the presence of the citizen and the customer. In a few years from now, we'll have a digital identity. Everyone will have a digital identity. Every citizen in all European countries have a digital identity. The companies will have an organizational digital identity. This is our new important tools. The European Commission pays a lot of money, invested a lot of money in the technology sector, universities, research centers. We are going to create this ecosystem of digital identity. The big companies, the small companies invest too because it's 50% funding. So the regional airports can benefit from the ecosystem. Everything will be here, so stay on the other side and try to increase the efficiency of the processing of the digital documents by investing in the digital transformation. And this digital transformation, when the customer is already digital, I think it's much cheaper than it was several years ago, even today.
probably if you don't know, as I'm a fellow, I'm Greek. In Greece, a couple of years ago, we launched, the government launched the digital ID and the digital driver license. Then in Greece, when you are also flying domestically with the junior lines, you don't need anymore to present any document because everything is in your iPhone or smartphone, whatever you have. Then this make really facilitating the process. But Petro, how soon are we going to see this?
Actually, the plan is until 2030 to implement in a large scale the digital identity in the European countries, but the game has already started. Airports like, for example, the airport of Marseille, other airports start to participate in pilots, so there is something that's going on now. So there is experimentation, and this is important because from the experimentation you learn how the future will be. So even if this story will become mature in the end of the 20s, perhaps a bit earlier, it's important to start playing this game right now. Experiment, pilot, and I believe through these strategies, the regional airport, they have the small size, and it's always easier to experiment when you have the small size. It's very difficult. I met several times with the airports of Amsterdam, of Paris. It's very difficult to adopt all these kind of technologies before they become fully mature. Regional airports can play the game early, and they may have the benefits of their economy.
David, this is for you, I think, to be a leader and let's say test pilot here. Returning to the question about how the authorities can help you for your regional development, how they can facilitate you.
I would say number one thing would be liberalization for our part of the world. It plays a very important role to be able to, for the airline to be able to provide their services, to bring their products to the customers. The biggest barrier in front of the aviation growth in some parts of the world is still liberalization. And that can only be done by the authorities. Airlines can only be a partner of this contributor of this discussion, but it needs to be led by the government's longer term strategy about economy, about tourism, about aviation. And the second thing is to have a strategy roadmap plan for the other players, other sectors of the whole travel industry. Again, that's not something every single player in aviation, in hotels, or in other travel sectors can actually lead. It needs to be there needs to be a overall strategy, a bigger, broader look into the countries or cross-country planning to grow travel. And the third thing is, which will be critical for regional airports point of view, is how do we achieve our environmentally sustainable, become environmentally sustainable. At the moment, availability of SAF is so low, as far as I know. In order to meet the net zero goal of the aviation industry, we need to multiply the current production volume by a few thousand at least. And there is also the difficulty of distributing the SAF product. For instance, we Pegasus Airlines we're only using SAF at 3 of our airports within our network in Turkey. There are 58 airports in Turkey. We fly to 35 of them. So it will be a major challenge, and it will come it will be a reality very soon. So I think that is something that the government's authorities needs to play a big role in solving.
I agree with you, Onur, about what you said. Costin, your point of view?
I think from the authorities' perspective, if globally, because we discussed about safety, and I think safety is not different from the part of the world where we are. So an effort to have a general safety framework valid in most of the countries, it should be a very high point that helps us as airlines to be more competitive in the same time, so the investments to be somehow in an equilibrium from this perspective. And I think this effort has to be done at the level of the European Union, FAA, and the other parts to come to bring a standard uniform safety environment for the entire, if we put also Asia, important countries, these things will be very helpful.
To conclude, I have one last question, very short start from Petros. Are you optimistic for the future of regional development?
Actually, in this area, yes. If you look at the recent statistics, we have an excellent growth in the last years. Every corner of this East-South Europe, it's the area with the high potential. So if you stay here, if you are in this area, yes, you should be optimistic.
Onur?
Definitely yes, because we are a market builder airline. We created our own market from scratch. We are a mainly low-cost leisure airline, and a leisure airline has to be believe in regional airports. Just to give an example, some of the audience in the room might be knowing this, but an airport called Sabiha Gökçen almost didn't exist 20 years from today. Just running a few flights, charter flights every day. Sabiha Gökçen, from there to today, being like a 40 million annual capacity, annual traffic international airport, and we still make 70% of that traffic. We believed in Sabiha Gökçen. It was a very, very small almost non-operating regional airport, quite distant to central Istanbul. And we believed in it back in 2005, and we saw what we could do in 19 years. So yes, we definitely believe in regional airports.
Costin?
Regional airports, it's the development for Europe, because this is how Europe now is developing the connectivity. So I think but the future of the regional airports is even more. They have to become a regional connectivity point, multimodal, including not only airlines, including also the network of the train connectivity, bus connectivity. So auto connectivity. So meaning this will be the development, will become an important point of connectivity, and not only airline connectivity. It has to connect more things together. This is how the future will develop for these regional airports. This is my view.
And last but not least, Catalin?
Yeah, I would, my colleagues from the industry and academia push on the area of airlines and airport, but from my point of view, it's also essential at the level of the regulators to go towards regionalization and to go out of the paradigm of having 193 member states of ICAO, every single state with its own authority, own inspectors, own. So practically when we start working in ICAO and creating the global aviation system of oversight, we try to build a system which will end up with 5, 6 big authorities that will oversee the whole aviation framework and will end up being at the highest level of uniformity and harmonization ever. It's hard, you have a lot of challenges, but we'll end up being there, because right now it's happening in the manufacturing industry. Everyone is taking and validating the certificates issued of the biggest manufacturing countries and are recognizing this. And this should be the end point, because otherwise you will end up, especially with the new technologies, you will end up not having enough money, resources and capabilities to cope with the industry, which from our point of view, my point of view, is not acceptable. You should be working together with the industry and to change your mindset if needed to be able to cope with the new industry. I'm wondering how many people or how many CAAs, even the big one in the world, will have the money to pay an expert, an inspector, to certify an artificial intelligence-led UTM for, I don't know, whatever you want to deliver here with drones. This will be prohibited, okay? One expert, right now in artificial intelligence prohibited. To put it in a CAA and to pay it at the governmental level, forget about it. So it's a challenge that we have right now, and the only way forward is to become more closer and work together in a more regional way, and that's why our initiative that we've passed through, both in ICAO and here in Central Asia and all the region, to try to consolidate our efforts, try to pull our experts and to work together with the industry at the highest level to make things happen.
Well, this concludes our leader panel, and join me in thanking our great speakers, leaders from their transfer from different perspectives. I think we are optimistic about the future, and we saw that regional development is quite critical for the aviation ecosystem. Then, thank you all of you for being here this afternoon.
So just to sum up, I think we are to thank our distinguished speakers and guests present here today at Cluj International Airport. And maybe one conclusion that should rest with us all after this significant afternoon here is that through the power of partnerships between all aviation players, ecosystem players, I think regional aviation can go forward, and we should always look out to sort of speak like in all of our national states, to try to determine them to have a solid and realistic strategy about the future of aviation, be it for the development of passenger traffic or cargo traffic, because only like this aviation will go forward further, projects will be supported for the development of regional airports, and both passenger and cargo traffic will see better numbers from one year to the other. So I would like to thank everyone once again for being present here.